libidos, and welcome to Sex 101. Sex 101 is created to empower our sexes and relationship. And today I have my special guest. She is a fellow podcaster, urology and sexual health nurse practitioner, none other than Dr. Stephanie Zwonitzer.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome once again, Dr. Stephanie. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work with urology and sexual medicine patients. So, that's everything from how and well you pee and if you can pee to prostate cancer, kidney stones, and then erectile dysfunction, pelvic pain, lubrication issues, all kinds of stuff related to sex that I get to see on a daily basis. I have two young adult kids and a fur baby and a wonderful life in Maryland. I work full time in a urology clinic, and then I get to do my podcasting and connect with people like this in my off hours. So it's really a good mix of things.
Indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Dr. Stephanie, thank you. So today let's talk about mismatched libidos. So what is all about?
Yeah, there's a research study that came out that said in an entire marriage, there will be 8 times where both partners want sex at the same time. The same type of sex, same, whatever. So, eight
Mhm.
times. That means somehow at one point in time, one person's going to be in the mood and the other person isn't. And that's going to be the vast majority of your relationship. And so, working through that and figuring out how to still come together, even though you have different times of day you like to have sex, different frequencies of how often you want sex, what type of sex you might want, you can still negotiate that and come together. But it is absolutely normal to not be on the same page as your partner all the time.
Indeed, for sure. So let's talk about the beyond high and low. Instead of using the judgment laden terms high and low libido, would mismatch desire or desire discrepancy be a
Mhm.
more accurate or less shaming way to frame these common challenge?
Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be shame around it at all. Whether you want sex 3 times a day or twice a month or twice a year, that's your own personal choice. And everyone has a different cycle of how frequently they want to be sexually active. So, absolutely no shame, regardless of which side of that spectrum you're on. But certainly, we can, instead of saying high or low, we can say, a stronger appetite or just different desires. And I think that it's a really great thing that we don't all want sex constantly all the time, or we would never get anything done. That's my little Milo saying hi. But I think
Milo.
it's also important to know that it's okay to not be on the same page as your partner, but there's ways that you can compromise and get there.
Yes, people, it's okay not to be okay, as they said.
Yeah.
How does a mismatch in libido often solidify into a painful pursuer distancer or dynamic where one partner initiation feels like pressure and the other's withdrawal feels like a rejection?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely happens. So, we see a lot of times it's one of the biggest things that couples go to counseling for is mismatched libidos. And it is a very significant part. Sex isn't the only part of a relationship, but it does touch every aspect of a relationship. If you are not feeling satisfied and cared for and desired by your partner, that can really wreak havoc in your relationship and cause a divide. So, if you are not necessarily in the mood, then we need to find different ways of saying no in maybe a more of a not right now, but how about later or something to that degree. Um, that we want to be careful to not punish people, right? You shouldn't be punished for not wanting sex, and you shouldn't be punished for wanting sex. And so, kind of figuring out that middle ground of what works for both of you is without shame is super important, because we really can't make people feel bad for their own biological chemistry. And it varies for so many different things, whether it is stress related, work related, financial related, relationship wise. There's so many variations in what cause our desire for sex to go up and down, including our own hormones and sleep patterns, and our other comorbidities. So, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of these things affect our body and our ability to want sex. And then on top of it, we got to want it with our partner. So, there's that dynamic as well.
True. So, what are the most common and often inaccurate stories that lower desire partner tell themselves? Just
Yeah,
saying, "Oh,
great.
I'm broken. I'm a bad partner," or the higher desire partner tell themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. They do. They have this like internal beating themselves up, and oh, there's something wrong with me because I want this all the time. And it's they keep telling me it's my only focus. It's not my only focus, but it makes it seem like it because that's the only thing we ever argue about. And so there's a lot of beating yourself up, whether you're the one with the stronger desire or the less frequent desire. And I think stepping back and allowing people to just be who they are. If you are really committed in this relationship, then you are also committed to finding that balance and that time. And if you're really not, hopefully you're not yet, fully committed and you have it easier to get out. But, maybe that person isn't right for you, because you do have to be compatible to some degree. And that means that compromise and that finding a way to be together, but that intimacy doesn't always have to equal penetrative intercourse. And so maybe part of that learning to not just say no as a definitive, but say, I'm really not in the mood for full penetrative sex, but I could do a hot makeout session real quick or something. That there's various levels of being intimacy, and maybe exploring something besides penetrative intercourse will allow you to connect more frequently.
Dr. Stephanie, how can the mental and emotional invisible load of life, managing the household, parenting stress, career pressure acts silent libido killer, and how can couples address this root cause?
Yeah, so it absolutely everything in life is a libido killer. It seems like, you're struggling to pay the bills. The government's shut down right now. There's a lot of people in my area not having paychecks, and that stress, and relationship stress, or it's finals week stress, whatever it might be, absolutely affects things. And especially if only one person is going through that stressor and not both of you, right? So then
Mhm.
that's affecting the couple. So a couple of things that you can do is obviously set your expectations. You can have the conversation outside the bedroom that says, "Hey, next week is going to be really stressful for me. I've got these 3 meetings, this project is due, whatever it is." And, scheduling sex might not be sexy to some of you, but that sometimes is the best thing to do, is say, "Look, I have this time on Tuesday night. I would love to spend a couple hours with you, but that's really all I'm going to be able to give you in this upcoming week. Doesn't mean I don't want you," and just kind of laying out that groundwork when you're not in the moment, because it is much more emotionally damaging to have being told no all the time, or getting rejected all the time. Whereas if you can pull that conversation out of the in the moment emotions and say, "Hey, I really do want to connect with you this week, but it's going to be a bad week for me. Can we connect Sunday night once this week is over?" Or something like that. Then you're laying those expectations out ahead of time and not having to feel the guilt and the shame in the moment. And conversely, "Hey, We haven't been having a lot of sex lately. I really need some extra intimacy. I'm feeling undesired. I'm feeling not wanted or supported as much in this relationship because for me, touch and physical intimacy is really important. Can we have a couple extra times over the next 2 weeks of this? Can we make it a priority? Having those conversations outside of the bedroom, outside of the moment of intimacy, can really allow you to just connect with each other and not get angry about things, to not feel guilt or shame in the moment. It allows you to prepare for that.
For the higher desired partner, how can they express their interests and attraction in a way that feels like an invitation rather than a demand or a test?
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a great point because it absolutely comes across as a demand. Like, you must have sex with me 3 times a week or I'm not gonna be happy. That's a tough one, but I think the best way to do it is to talk about whether or not that is something that you need to feel safe in the relationship, to feel loved. There's these various love languages, and for some people, physical touch is top notch. If you're not touching me and having sex with me, something's wrong in our relationship. And that just needs to be talked about. Again, outside of the bedroom, outside of sexy time, having these conversations that say, "I don't feel safe in our relationship unless we have sex 3 times a week." Like, that's just something that I need, I feel good, whatever. And then you can have those conversations. "Okay, well, what can I give you that's not full sex every time to still give you that safety and, physical touch in our relationship?" And I think the other way is to text them during the day, to flirt with them, to take them on a date, to not make it all about the physical act of sex, and to make it more about the romance and the connection, and gaining that intimacy with each other versus just, let me get my nut. That's not necessarily the goal every time.
What is more constructive way for lower desired partner to communicate a not now that protects their partner's feeling and keeps the door open for intimacy rather than slamming it shut?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, just the kindness and the empathy towards your partner. Hey, I really don't feel good today. Maybe I'm bloated, maybe I'm, whatever it might be. Your stomach's upset, you have a headache, all the things. Although orgasms really help headaches, so that should just be an excuse that you
Yes.
can use.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I think saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't think that I can have intercourse tonight, but could we snuggle on the couch and watch a movie together?
Yes.
I can't necessarily give you this part of me, but I can give you my time. Would you like to play a game? Would you like to go out to dinner versus being at home? Do you want to cook together? Is there something else that I can give you besides that penetrative sex? And then, hey, next time I'm feeling better, I'll let you know so that we can be intimate in that way." And there's always this kind of negotiation and compromise factor, just like every aspect of our relationships. Sex is one of those times that we have to find that common ground.
True. And Dr. Stephanie, beyond stress and relationship dynamics, what are some often overlooked medical or hormonal factors that couples should absolutely rule out?
Yeah, for sure. Hormones. So for
Mm,
men, you're looking at your testosterone is really your biggest hormone that's going to help with your libido. But it also needs to be in balance with your estrogen and your other sex hormones. So getting a good hormone panel for a man, to make sure that his hormones are not contributing to low libido, getting and then for the female, for her hormones, we want to make sure you have adequate estrogen and progesterone, because deficiencies in either of those can definitely decrease your libido. And then women have testosterone as well. We don't have anywhere near the amount of men, but we need our testosterone. That's our libido too. And so getting that tested, can help. So outside of getting your hormones treated, ways that you can kind of naturally work on that is lifting weights. The more muscle mass you have, the more testosterone your body wants to make for you. So, resistance training is really important, and getting really good quality sleep. So, it's not just being in bed for 8 hours, it's making sure that you're getting those 6 to 8 hours of quality sleep. You're not waking up every 5 minutes. The dog's not kicking you, the kid's not screaming every 5 minutes, your partner's not snoring too much, whatever. Finding a way to get that really good quality sleep allows all of your hormones to balance out and to be optimized. So that's really important. Eating a good, healthy diet that helps our libido, and just feeling your best, whether that is wearing something sexy like lingerie or an outfit or a shirt that looks really good on you, doing your hair or your makeup or shaving in a certain way. Maybe you look better with a certain cut of your beard and you've been lazy lately. You could trim it up really nice. And all of those little things boost our self esteem and our self confidence, and that in turn will boost our libido. If you're around your partner, you can touch each other randomly in non-sexual ways, but just as you're walking past each other, you can kind of touch on the arm, you can touch their butt, you can do all the little fun things. If you're not around each other, you can send sexy text messages throughout the day. I can't wait to get home to you tonight. Even something as simple as that can start getting your partner's imagination rolling, and now you're prepped and ready for later. So that kind of stuff can increase your libido as well. So it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional and spiritual. It's all of the things that need to work together for us to feel our sexiest, which increases our libido and our desire for our partner.
Dr. Stephanie, how does the transition to parenthood uniquely ravage libido and connection? And what are some strategies for couples to find their way back to their other sexually after having children?
Yeah, such a great question. A friend of mine actually has a podcast that's completely about sex after kids because it is such a important time and such a popular topic.
Hmm.
But it's so important. It's one of those things where for the baby carrier, right, the female, you're going to get
Yes.
hormones all over the place. They're super high, they're crashing low. They can change from day to day, especially if she is breastfeeding, then you're still having hormones transition more in more so than if you are not breastfeeding. And she's certainly healing after having a baby and all of these things. Maybe she had some complications during delivery, and now the thinking about being penetrated is terrifying to her because of the pain that she went through. So there's mental and physical changes here going on for the female. The partner, whether you're male or female, now you have to look at the baby person who just had a baby and maybe looks differently and is presenting differently. Are you still turned on by them? So there's a lot of it that goes into it. And I think one of the best things, again, is talking outside of the bedroom, not during sexy time. Hey, I have a couple of these concerns about being intimate again. What do you think about this? Have you looked at me? Do I look okay? I'm scared because of pain. Maybe your partner is scared because they saw you in pain, and thinking about doing something to you that in that same area that caused you so much pain while you were having a baby is scary. It can be scary for both partners. And so really having those conversations can help. Also, don't put yourself on the time frame. Just because at 6 weeks, technically you're allowed to have sex again, doesn't mean you have to. You can start with a finger or a vibrator or a dilator or something else that's smaller that then can kind of work your way back up. Maybe you take penetration off the table for a little while, or you take, I don't know, making orgasm your goal off the table for a while, just enjoying each other and finding pleasure again in non sexual ways that then can turn into sexual ways as you regain that trust and intimacy between the two of you. And then finding the time, right? Now you've got a baby or you've got toddlers or whatever. In my case, you have young adults who know what those noises are. And so, every phase is different. But I think with the babies, it's important to remember you don't have to be around them all the time. It's okay for them to be safe in their crib for a little while. It's okay to let grandma hold them and take them on a walk while you have some alone time. or leave them at grandma's house for a couple hours. So, those kinds of things are really important to prioritize. As your kids get a little bit older, finding ways to work around it. I was always had a strict bedtime for my kids. My kids were
Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock in bed, whether their dad was around or not, because it was alone time or partner time. And that's really important. If you can get the kids on a regular schedule, they're asleep by a certain time, and you still have energy for each other, then you can have
Why
time.
not?
Yes, yes. It's really important to make that time, but I think that kind of learning the tips and tricks at each phase of being a parent is a little challenging, but definitely doable and absolutely worth it for your relationship.
Indeed. And Dr. Stephanie, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Low 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101 and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Stephanie, what is your message of validation and actionable advice for the partner who's feeling pressured, broken, or guilty about their lack of desire?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is find pleasure in any way that you can and enjoy that. And it doesn't have to just be sex. It's okay to want intimacy with your partner in other ways. And the more that you find to love yourself and take time and find that pleasure with yourself and your partner, the more your libido will start to come up for you. And then do the healthy things that we talked about, the sleep, the eating, the exercising, and all of those things will get you where you want to be, but it is nothing to feel ashamed about.
Nothing, people, nothing. Don't be ashamed. So, Dr. Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
My
So, can
pleasure.
you, yes, so can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, absolutely. You guys can find Between the Sheets on all the podcasting sites as well as YouTube. That is my sexual health and wellness podcast covering everything from basic anatomy to crazy taboo kinks and everything in between. I have a lot of fun over there. We have some great guests. It's a great time. So, Between the Sheets.
Yes, people! Let's support Miss Stephanie. Yes, one sir, because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. So, Miss Stephanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Maricon people, see you soon.